First question is there any particular aspect of the production that interested you?
The fact that David wanted to do it in 18th century was interesting to me. The costume is elaborate, and it can be difficult, but it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really like that period of time as far as what people wore.
Mm-hmm.
So, those two things probably in particular. And once I came out here and saw the entire set put together, which I hadn't seen it for like a week and a half because I was so busy, the whole set was so beautiful. It was just breathtaking, you know.
Is there any particular part of the production that interested you?
Well, from the very beginning, working with David interested me. He was my mentor when I was a student here several years ago, and just working with him is always a pleasure. So we had been talking about it, feels like for a couple of years. We've been, probably, actually the very first time we talked about it, I was still a student here. We talked about doing Merchant of Venice together. So when it started to become a real possibility, I jumped on board as soon as I could. So that was probably the most exciting thing for me. But I also like working at Laverne. I like coming back and being a part of this department. So that in and of itself is also something that, just by virtue of this production, being here with these people, was enough to get me excited and involved. I also have a special love of Shakespeare, so that helps. And it's a play I've never designed before. So again, that's something else that is added on top. Another little fun thing for me. Yeah, I think that's it.
Is there anything about the production that you found particularly challenging?
Finding enough corsets.
Yeah,
those kind of things. Yeah. Finding enough shoes to fit everyone. Just those things.
Is there anything about the production that you found challenging?
Yeah, I mean, there definitely came a point where I had designed a bunch of really big, I think the most challenging thing was I ended up designing a bunch of really large units, and trying to figure out a way to get them to fit on stage was probably the most challenging thing, because we really liked them all, and we really liked what they did, and we liked the sense of depth that we were getting, but there came a practical point where we had to start cutting things. The stage floor was originally going to be lifted a few inches to help create a sense of a canal and stuff. We ended up cutting that. Shylock's house was originally going to be built to kind of wrap around the pylon to get it more stage left. We ended up cutting that, and just a few other changes. But that's not unusual to any production to have to kind of adapt as you go. But really making it all fit, kind of representing the fullness and the richness of Venice.
What type of research did you do in order to get your creative development going?
Well, I've been looking at these things, at costumes and clothing for many years, since I was a little kid, decades. So when he said he wanted to do it in 18th century, I knew right away what it would be. And I just started thinking about things. I did go look at a few books in the library, in the theater library here. And I started looking at things on the internet. I had seen recently, there's a movie called The Duchess. Great costuming, the same period of time. So I started thinking about that. I did some sketches, and basically that. And then I went and looked at everything that we had to see what would work.
What type of research did you do in order to fulfill your creative development?
I find it useful to understand both when the script was intended to take place as well as where we're adapting it. We had kind of moved it to this Baroque setting, and we were really looking at Canaletto's Venice. We were really imagining it taking place in that world. So really we looked at a ton of Canaletto paintings. And then, there comes a challenge of designing Belmont and deciding what that's going to look like. How much like Venice is it? How unlike Venice is it? And we ended up doing a lot of research into artists and eventually landed with Turner as kind of our influence. We figured Canaletto was Venice and Turner was Belmont. So we ended up...
If you had another opportunity to run this production, what would you have done differently?
Artistic endeavors always require money. So I would just say, I would just have more money and do bigger and better and more. That's a pipe dream. Sometimes.
Do you feel overall satisfied with what was here?
It was a good show.
If you had another opportunity to run this production, what would you do differently?
I would have liked the raised platform. I feel like we would have gotten more sense of a canal if the bridge had landed on an elevated platform. I would have liked Shylock's house to be pushed off a little bit more. I missed the pattern that was supposed to be painted on some of the structures. I feel like I discovered something when I was painting out the arcade. The style of painting was different than what we have on the Psych, and I feel like I liked it better, so I probably would have painted that to match. I feel like, as a designer, that there are so many shows I want to design that I cannot imagine redoing shows. But maybe, I don't know, maybe in 10 years I'll feel differently and want another crack at the Merchant of Venice. But for now, I'm pretty satisfied with that.
Thank you. Those are